What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Reddit video here on the Life Stories channel. My name's Dylan, and today we're going to be looking at some stories from the subreddit Tales from the Front Desk. I've got a bit of a cold today, so sorry if the audio isn't up to scratch, but just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Bring me a microwave, or I'm telling the CEO on you. This happened this past Monday night, and before I get into the meat of it, a little backstory for the night from my end. I'm a new front desk supervisor at a hotel that's much larger than any hotel I've ever worked before. I'm used to hotels with 100 to 125 rooms and maybe one meeting space. This hotel is over 300 rooms with about 15 meeting spaces. We're also located in a rather large industrial park around 20 minutes from downtown area, the airport, and several large attractions in a major city. So we're usually pretty busy Monday through to Wednesday. On top of this, my night auditor had a family emergency in a city 6 hours away, and he had to call out both Sunday and Monday night. So on top of my regular schedule of 2:30 till 11 PM, I was also working both those overnight shifts. My front office manager has also recently had a few medical emergencies. We think it's stress related but aren't 100% sure. She's trying her hardest to be there for her shifts, but for the last week or so she's been texting me asking if I can come in early so she can run to the nearest urgent care facility. The only commitments that I have outside of working right now are to my couch and the computer. So yeah, no problem working doubles and squeezing in naps where I can. I have an awesome front desk team and have no problem with picking up some extra time here or there when they need it, because I know they'd do the same for me. It was quieter than a usual night shift had been because we're going into our slow season. But since I was supposed to be off on Sunday and got called in, my manager asked me to come in later on Monday to cut some overtime. I'm hourly, not salary. Instead, when I wake up Monday morning, I noticed a text asking me to come in as soon as possible because my manager had another medical emergency and needed to leave. I left as soon as I could and figured I'd just eat something when I got to work. I got to work just before 3 PM and my manager left as fast as she could. She told me to try and have a night audit done by 4 AM because she needed someone from the morning shift to come in early to relieve me. I figured I could speedrun it and have it done in no time since I'm usually done about 5 AM, so I could start early, just work a little faster than normal and I'll be fine. We were so busy Monday afternoon that thinking back on it, I don't think I ever sat down and ate anything. I just had an energy drink. Then when the shift change happened, I had a second energy drink and didn't eat anything. I was so stressed, jittery, and my blood sugar was crashing hard and fast. We were also so busy that I didn't look at the clock fast enough and not only missed the chance to start the night audit early, but actually started it at 12 AM, a full hour late. Right as I start printing the report, a guest calls to make a noise complaint. Hi, I'm 305, and the guy in the room next to me is being really loud. It sounds like he's on the phone, room 303 I think. I apologise for the disturbance and tell her I'll try and talk to him and ask him to keep it down. After ending the call, I call up 303 and speak to the guest. I'll call him Mr. P. Yes? Hello Mr. P, I apologise for calling at such a late hour, but we've just received a noise complaint against your room. I'd just like to ask you please be mindful of your neighbours and of the late hour and lower your volume. Mr. P, I understand sometimes I talk loudly, that's all. Me, that's fine sir, but again it's rather late. Since this was a formal complaint, I had to call and speak to you about it. He started to repeat what he said, stuttering a little. At the time I just wrote it off as him being tired, and because of his thick accent I assumed English wasn't his first language, and he was having a hard time getting the words out with a tired brain. We ended the call and I went back to my work. Around 1:30 AM, Mr. P calls from his room asking if we could bring a microwave up to him. We don't have microwaves in our rooms, but do keep a few in the housekeeping area on the main floor. I told my bellman, who's acting as security for the night, where to find them and to bring one to Mr. P, and about 10 minutes later my bellman comes back, saying he'd only found one and it was broken. Since we don't have that many on this property, I assume they must all be in use since we're almost sold out for the night. I called Mr. P back. Yes? Hello Mr. P, I'm terribly sorry sir, but we do not have a microwave to send to your room. It seems that all the ones we have for guest use are currently being used by other guests. Mr. P, that's unacceptable, you'll bring me one right now. Me, confused. Mr. P, I'm sorry sir, but there isn't one for us to bring to you right now at this hour. We may have one for you tomorrow, but now, Mr. P. No, you are company name, you must have one. You will bring one to me now. Me, sir, we do not have one. Mr. P. You are a company name, are you not? Me, yes sir, we are. Mr. P. Full service, yes? I have asked for a service, and you will provide for me what I have asked. I am a rewards title, and you will bring it to me. Me. Again sir, I cannot do that. Mr. P continues to go off about how we claim to be a full service hotel and cannot do the simplest of things. How we do not value our loyal customers, how he's 10 nights away from being the next level of rewards member, and it lasts for a while. I eventually stop apologising because the apologies only made him raise his voice at me. While he's talking, his words stir and his stuttering continues. He's clearly drunk and I've just made him angry. I let him rant to his heart's content and he ends the call with, "I will buy one from the market." I'm confused at this point. It either means he's going to leave right now, get an Uber to the nearest store and buy a microwave at 2 AM, or he plans to do it tomorrow when we'll have one for him for free. Either way, not my problem anymore. Nope. He calls back to the desk a few minutes later and continues to bark for me for not having the microwave. He begins saying he'll take this up to the CEO of our company and have us shut down. Normally when someone makes that threat I'm giggling. That night I was just so irritated with him stopping me from doing the night audit that I just wanted to shout back at him. I held it in, was at the point where I wasn't apologising and had swapped yes sir with and just let him rant more. He finally hangs up again. I waited for a good bit, fully expected another drunk call from him, and when it didn't come through I sent my bellman to walk the hall and see if he heard any noises from Mr. P's room. He had one noise complaint and it was borderline harassing me whilst intoxicated. I was seriously considering tossing him out. My bellman went up, walked the hall, floated around the door some, came back down and said he couldn't hear anything. We assumed he was asleep. At 3 AM, the guest in 305 calls to make another noise complaint. She's getting really irritated at this point. She said Mr. P was screaming angry drunk in his room. I immediately inform her that we warned him about the noise and now there's been another noise complaint. I will be notifying the police to escort him out and for her not to be alarmed if she sees or hears the police in the hall. I call the local PD and whilst waiting on them to arrive, I realise how hard I'm shaking and frantic I appear when I speak. I try to calm down myself and munch on the Snickers bar to get my blood sugar levels under control. The whole time my bellman is asking me a million questions. He's never had to do this before and has no idea what's going to happen or what he should do. I try to calm my nerves and his whilst answering his questions and eating my Snickers. 3 police officers arrive rather quickly and go upstairs with me to Mr. P's room. I explain things as we go up and they knock on the door. A short, late 30s Middle Eastern man answers the door in his boxers. Mr. P. He claims he was sleeping and asks what's going on. The officers ask if they can come in and talk to him and Mr. P lets them in. I stay in the hall but hear some of what's going on. One officer asks him the standard questions whilst the other 2 look around. I hear one officer pick up what sounds like a large and heavy glass object and walk over to Mr. P with it. Officer: Sir, did you drink any of this tonight? Mr. P: Yes, I like to drink in my room when I travel. Officer: How much did you drink? Mr. P: All of it. He sounded proud. After that, one officer exits the room and asks if it would be okay for him to stay if he just calmed down and went to sleep. I said no, I don't trust him to fall asleep and he has already disturbed a guest twice in a row. He has to go. The officer went back in and all 3 of them helped him get dressed, get his wallet and phone, and then take him with them. When he sees me in the hall, he grins and says, "Who complained?" The officer immediately snaps at him not to talk to me and I just ignore him. They take Mr. P away and tell me they're going to take him to a hospital to sober him up, and then someone will bring him back here to collect his things in the afternoon. I groan because that means I'll have to deal with him a second time when I come in for my regular shift, but at least we'll have had food and sleep by that point. Nope. At 6 AM, Mr. P arrives at the hotel to collect his things. Because of all of the mess he caused in delaying me to do the night audit, I'm still here trying to finish my work and file an incident report explaining what happened with him. My bellman comes into the back office, I hid there with my work as soon as my relief showed up at 4 AM, and tells me Mr. P is back and wants to be let into his room. I tell my bellman to escort him to the room and let him enter. He is to gather his things and leave immediately. My bellman, not quite understanding the instructions, or just being the nicer guy that he should have been, let Mr. P have the key to his room and walked him up there. Mr. P shut himself in the room. My bellman returns and tells me this. I call Mr. P and have my bellman stand and witness the call. I tell Mr. P that he has 10 minutes to collect his things and leave immediately. He tries to argue for 15 and demands the number of the CEO. I tell him no and offer the contact info of my general manager, and 10 minutes in he continues arguing with me. He was saying it was unnecessary for us to call the police. I told him it was policy to call them for evictions, which it is, and he can try to continue and argue with me that it wasn't. I wasn't having it. Mr. P, given the circumstances, I'm being generous with you, giving you 10 minutes of privacy to collect your things. You have wasted 2 minutes of that with this call. You now have 8 minutes. My security officer will be at your door to assist you in leaving. Is that understood? Mr. P groaned and hung up. I went with my bellman to the door 8 minutes later, and when Mr. P opened, my bellman made the motion for me to go back downstairs. He said, I think he's still drunk. Then I remembered there was alcohol found in the room and possibly was more than what was left. I went downstairs and left my bellman a radio in case anything happened. Mr. P knew my face and was already angry with me. If he was indeed still intoxicated, there was no telling what would happen if I stayed. I went to the back office and watched the cameras of the radio in my hand, waiting for any reason to call the cops again. It was getting close to 15 minutes of me waiting, and I heard and saw nothing. I was about to go back up there when they finally came down and Mr. P charged for the desk, and began berating my associate for all of the personal information of the guest who made the complaints. I'm about done with him and his rubbish. I walked out, stood by my associate and began to stare down with Mr. P. Me. Mr. P, are you requesting the private information of a guest at this property? Mr. P. Yeah. Me. No. Mr. P. You will give me the name and credentials of me. No, you will not have their information. Mr. P. You will do as I say. Give me their information and the phone number of the CEO. Me. You are in no permission to make demands on negotiations. You have your belongings, you are trespassing, now leave. Mr. P tried to throw his member status around and argue all sorts of things with me. I stared him down and told him that if he didn't leave I was calling the police again. He sneered at me and stopped out. I had my bellman watch him from the inside until his Uber arrived. I then finished my night audit, filled out an incident report, and I even had to do a sit down with my general manager and tell her the whole story. She said I did an amazing job, and when my bellman and associate were questioned on their statements for the matter, they both said they were impressed with how I handled it. Up to this I had a reputation for being a fun-loving and goofy person at the front. But when word spread about what happened, everyone thinks I'm some sort of hotshot badass. I even got nominated as Host of the Week, our version of the Employee of the Month, and had my time off request for the whole week before Thanksgiving approved. My ass will be several states away with my phone off that entire week. My night auditor came back last night and was so shocked to hear what happened that he interrupted my storytelling 5 times to apologise. I joked that he owes me a beer after that, and now he's saying he's going to take our entire management team out for drinks and he's buying all the rounds. I'm trying to talk him out of that. Some of our managers are rumoured to drink like fish. Well, to be honest, when the Sparkle member demanded the phone numbers for the CEO and whatnot, they should be given a different phone number, like a special phone number, and the phone number should be answered with somebody chanting on the line, "Loyalty Program Cancellation Hotline, your ban will not be made permanent until you presented us with your side of the story. How can I help you?" How did I get to such a wonderful property? I started out in a very poorly run hotel. There were rooms with cobwebs, the rate was $79 plus tax, and I had to work doubles frequently. I saw the general manager about once a week, and the AGM was doing most of the duties that were needed, except for the payroll. I finally moved on from that property after a year or so to a smaller, more extended stay type property, but the issues were largely the same. We served taquitos for breakfast to all of the construction workers who riddled the lobby and breakfast area every morning with dry mud off their boots, but the general manager was a nice person who I got along with very well. The general manager eventually left to get work at a branded property by place in the story. I continued to work as an auditor and 3 to 11 person for another year, totaling 2. I hated the new general manager. She refused to give me a raise or even a performance review, pushing it out every single time I asked, and also was never there like my first property's general manager. The auditor who worked on off days decided that he didn't want to do laundry anymore. Since he was the grandson of the owner, he got away with this. I came into a 3 to 11 day before he worked audit, and my general manager said I had to finish all of the laundry by the time he came in, which the amount was not possible for me to do by myself, with 35 check-ins. I gave her my name tag and left at that moment. I went down to the new property my old general manager moved on to see if they had a position open, and they did, and I started working at front desk. This new branded property had rooms that were external and rooms that were internal. Very interesting property to the market and to work at. It had tons and tons of maintenance issues. We only had a part-time maintenance guy between 2 properties, so I was running around every single day with black box re-updating and initializing doors, or finding a starhead screwdriver to put new batteries in them. Apart from getting way too much cardio running about that place, I liked it. It had personality, and so did the employees working there. I spent a year and a half before leaving to go back to college. College didn't work out for me, so I went back to my old job. Thank goodness they had an opening to accept me back, and I got back in the swing of things, seeing some regulars again, fixing those same old doors, and having coffee with my general manager in the mornings. Fast forward a year, and our OM leaves. She's moving away for her husband's job. I immediately put my name in. They interviewed me, and one outside candidate, and they decided to give me the position. It really sounded like things were starting to go my way, until I saw the contract, which was a 25.5k a year salary. The cost of living here is really cheap, but it's still not enough to get anything but the most basic apartment, not to mention savings. I signed it because I needed more money. I spent a year and a half as that OM of the property, until my wife gave birth to my daughter. The hotel actually even threw in a baby shower for me. They were always very sweet. But at that moment, I knew I needed to stop spending so much time at work. I was there 65 hours a week most weeks, and I couldn't hire anyone to save my life. Hardly anyone applied, and fewer came to the interviews scheduled, and then most of those I even offered a position didn't even show up on their first day. I was on the desk all of the time, and then the other hours doing actual manager duties. At the end, I couldn't do it anymore. I had a mental breakdown at home when I went on a tirade looking for my phone. People called me at home for work issues constantly if I wasn't there, and I couldn't find it, and I realised what I was doing was not healthy. I resigned and left a month later. I spent a month in solitude trying to find peace and wondering if hospitality is truly for me. Even though I know I loathe people, I'm surprisingly good at what I do. I find a job opening for a AGM at a new property being built in our town. I interview and I believe it went really well. I got the call and I didn't get the position. She said that they went with someone much more experienced, but they very much enjoyed my interview. I took a look at my own resume and I realised I'd only worked at lower end properties and I needed to work my way from the bottom again if I was to go anywhere. I'm now a GSR at a derelict property and it's the best place I've ever worked. The housekeeping team is incredible, my co-workers are all 10 minutes early to their shifts, there's a bar with really cool bar attenders, and my AGM and GM are only slightly crazy. I just want to say that I feel good. I feel better than I did before. I'm not angry with hospitality anymore and I'm ready to give it another shot. I hope you like my story. I hope I'll be able to tell it again someday, but with it ending being a general manager. Well guys, that's the end of today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, leave a like rating down below and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.